So here's something kind of crazy. My book, Shame on You, Big Truths from a Bad Mom, is officially in pre-production. At this point, I'm just waiting to hold a print version in my hands. The cover art is done, and you can actually go see that on Facebook or Instagram, by the way. And I'm just talking about it now, letting people know it's out there. Somehow, I've even done all this and managed to keep my kids not just alive, but mostly happy and alive. And these are all things I should be proud of. I know it. But you know what I feel instead? Fear. Fear that someone is going to read my book or listen to my podcast or meet me in person and realize that I'm a complete dunce who doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Everyone is going to figure out that I suck. It's just a matter of time. Sound familiar? Then you tuned in on the right day, because we're talking about imposter syndrome and how it affects us all. I'm Ariana Bradford, and this is the NIAM Project Podcast. What's up? As I've said, I'm Ariana, and this is the NIAM Project Podcast, and you are listening to Season 2, Episode 5, Is Mom an Imposter? Truth is, we've all probably heard about imposter syndrome once or twice, and we all tend to apply it to high-powered, rich CEOs and obvious celebrities because only those people have the kind of success where it matters, right? Except no, we matter too, as business owners, as employees, as parents. And we play ourselves down all the time, rather than admit that we may be doing a damn good job just for the completely unknown hand that we've been dealt. My guest, Kara, has a real love for this, as you'll soon see, and her ways of trying to beat the monster that is imposter syndrome are truly worth listening to.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kara. I own Ancora Counseling and Therapy Services, as well as Virago Consulting Group. And I work primarily in the mental health field, particularly with complex trauma. And I got into it because I love helping people break patterns. And my ideal people are the ones that have dark humor and swear a lot. And I find that
Hi.
Hello. So I love serving that group of men and women and helping them realize that these patterns don't have to exist anymore. So I really enjoy what I do. I'm also a mom. I have 2 kiddos, ages 3 and 6. I'm real tired. I'm currently drinking a martini. We are recording at 7:30 at night, so I think that's allowed. All therapists, all helpers, all social workers, however you want to phrase it, they have their own story, right? The story of basically what makes us become empathic in life. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those stories turn out very similar to mine. So I was always that kid that people came to on the playground with their problems. I was always the friend that people turned to. And that translated very nicely into my career choice. Without getting into too many of my own trauma stories, that's kind of my version of it in a nutshell.
That's awesome.
Read my future memoir.
My future memoir. I will be one of the first in line to buy one. So at least there's that.
Perfect.
Yeah. So getting into the crux of the matter, you wrote an awesome piece on imposter syndrome, and you wrote it from the place, actually, instead of me describing it, I would really like if you kind of just went into a synopsis of it yourself.
For sure. So the best way that I found to build my counseling practice has been network marketing. And, people want to do business with those they know, like, and trust. Turns out they also want to go into counseling with those they know, like, and trust. So I started working with a lot of business owners who had this feeling of, I have no idea. Is this a show I can swear on?
Yes.
Okay.
You can.
Let's work on that. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, right? But it's a feeling rather than a fact. This sense of everyone around me is succeeding in business and I'm not. Someday someone's going to find out I don't know what I'm doing and take my business away from me. Like, that's a thing I can do. So a lot of these kind of self-conscious thoughts about their like validity as business owners. And that really led to a feeling of, my business is stalling, it's plateauing, I don't know how to get to the next step. I'm not a business coach, but I do work a lot with people on their mindset patterns and their thinking errors and how those thinking errors prevent them from accomplishing their goals. So it almost became like a little subspecialty for me, working with business owners on this idea of imposter syndrome. And that's what really inspired the blog. But one of the places that blog was published was specifically for moms, because parents are like one of the worst afflicted by this, right?
Yep.
We are in the hospital for the first time after giving birth, and someone just hands us a baby and says, take it. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah. Here's a blank slate. Raise it to actually be a good person.
Don't fuck it up.
Don't fuck it up.
Otherwise, your kid's going to talk to me and,
and everyone will judge you. That's exactly what's going to happen. So don't fuck it up.
Yep.
100%.
There's some types of imposter syndrome that don't necessarily entirely translate over to parenting. So there's 5 types of imposter syndrome individuals, and one of them, for example, is like natural genius, where everything always came easy, and then when things aren't easy, it's suddenly like, well, now what do I do?
Right? Yeah, now I suck. I obviously must suck because it's not simple anymore.
So that one doesn't translate as nicely as, say, the perfectionist personality. High expectations of themselves, or the Superman or Superwoman personality who says, I have to do it all myself.
I feel like that's a huge one with parents. Like, obviously I'm not a therapist in any shape or form. Not that anyone would ever think I was, but I feel like a lot of the parents I talk to, like, that's a big one, is they feel like they have to do everything and they have to do it right. And even if they do 99% correct and 1% is wrong, then the whole thing's bad. The whole thing's shit. And it's, I don't know, that's ridiculous. Do you find the same thing, or?
Yes. Particularly, I see it a lot with single parents, where they're like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to rock it. And they take that mindset so strongly that they forget to look for the resources that are actually on their team and very much want to help them.
Right.
They just feel like they have to shoulder all the responsibility or they're doing it wrong.
Like asking for help is some sort of weakness almost.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do we handle this, you ask? Do we say affirmations in a mirror? Journal? Meditate? Drink ourselves cross-eyed and drunk dial some wayward exes? What's the way to go? To start fighting our impulses, to shit on ourselves and all that we clearly know about being parents, about being human. How do we do that? Kara starts by hitting the ground running with an exercise that sounds pretty hardcore, but that's totally worth it in the end. When you face this, when people kind of come to you about this, what do you usually suggest they do first to kind of knock that mindset backwards?
The first thing I do is really annoying.
At least you're honest, I guess.
I want you to write down 50 things that you're good at.
Whoa, 50?
50, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Because most people, they get to 10 and they're like, that's enough, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like some people will start right away with, they might start with business, right? Like really good at like managing all the schedules and right, like I'm a good leader, right? But the more you have to really think about it, it digs into your insecurity points, right?
Fair
Because we
point.
can all like easily say, I know I'm good at X, Y, and Z. But where imposter syndrome comes up is the things typically that we are only just competent at, right? And just competent or just average is okay, right? So once we have to start thinking about the areas where we feel a little bit more insecurity, that's where the imposter syndrome comes up. But once again, that's like at number 20, 25, 30 of that annoying 50 thing list, then you suddenly are thinking like, okay, yeah, sometimes I struggle to get my kids to bed on time, but also I read them a damn book every night. That's a good mom thing to do, right? And those are the things that your kids are going to remember a lot more than consistent bedtime.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something that's amazing. It's like, do people actually get to the 50? Do they generally tend to get to 50?
I force them to.
So
10 and I'm like, great, so you still have homework for the next appointment.
For
right?
the next appointment, go home. You've got 40 more. Enjoy. Oh my gosh. That's pretty ballsy though. I love that. And so eventually I don't even think I could do 50. Like I feel like even when you said they get to 10 and that's enough, I was like, I don't even know that I could do 10 before I'm like, I maxed myself out at 5. So that's
like you have homework now.
I apparently have homework. I've got to go sit down and work on my homework.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that comes with imposter syndrome is the sense of shame that comes along with it. So it's not just what you're good at, it's also tackling that feeling that I'm the only one feeling this. I know I feel like that every booster club meeting I've ever attended, right?
Yep.
So it's also tackling that thing. So making sure that you actually get an accurate, realistic view of none of us know what we're doing. All of us struggle in certain ways.
Yeah.
Really normalizing that. I mean, there's so much pressure to achieve just in general in our society. And I see that a lot with business owners. And the challenge is if we really focus on that as parents, we can project that onto our kids. And what does achieve mean? And is it turning them into a good human? Or is it the superficial things that, yes, absolutely could help them in life? But at the end of the day, don't we all as parents just want our kids to be happy and healthy?
100%.
And not turn into assholes.
Not turn into assholes. Even though
for parenting,
you can't really help it when they get to a certain age. Like I feel like they're going to be about 25% asshole no matter what you do.
Yep.
Until they graduate college, maybe, possibly. You're not really sure. So, by the way, in case you're wondering if you have to be perfect at combating these thoughts all the time, I'm going to tell you something that really helped me. So, I was learning to work on grounding and mindfulness because it's a big way to bring yourself back from panic attacks. And originally, I'd get really discouraged and demoralized the moment that my mind wandered elsewhere, which happens a lot when your thoughts are racing. And I'd assume that the moment that I stopped focusing on the present, I'd failed at my task, which would send me back into a spiral of shame and fear and anxiety, as you'd imagine. Then one day, I read some really cool advice, and it said that if your mind wanders, that's okay. Just bring it back. And that reminded me that it's okay to stray from the trail that you're trying to follow sometimes. It's okay to make mistakes. And the same goes for working against imposter syndrome. If your mind starts to wander into the muck and mire of I Suckville, just bring it on back.
In all honesty, do you feel that sometimes you struggle with that, with imposter syndrome?
Absolutely. In both categories, business owner and parenting. I am trained as a social worker. I'm not trained as a business owner. I learn everything through podcasts. I just got a business coach. But today she walked me through, like, I in management, I could review budgets. I could tell people to stick to the budget, but like, I've never created the budget. How do you do that for a business, right? How do you allocate certain amounts to marketing and that type of thing? So the one nice thing that I like reminding myself when I feel imposter syndrome is that means I am not a narcissist, right? So it becomes problematic when people believe 100% that they are above average at everything. Wow. Because more often than not, they aren't, right? Right. They have, like, everyone thinks they are an excellent driver, an above average driver. If you actually look at people's driving skills, most people are either at average or below average, right? And I could totally send you the study that I'm referring to. But I think it's the same way with a lot of skills. The more that you actually view yourself as, I could learn more, right? Not that I'm deficient or anything, but I always have room to grow. That means that you're less inclined to have narcissistic or even sociopathic tendencies. So I learn a lot in the business realm to help tackle my imposter syndrome. And when I really struggle with it, then my business coach tells me to write 50 things I'm good at. But in parenting, absolutely, because I have points that I, right now, thinking rationally, I know I'm really good at. I have points I know that I can improve on. But there are moments when, like, my daughter won't go to bed, or when she comes into my bed at, consistently midnight every night, where I'm like, am I doing this wrong? Right. Mm-hmm. Particularly, I'm even harder on myself because my specialty in college was child development and attachment and all that. So I'm just like, bitch, you should know.
What is wrong with me? Yeah.
And so I definitely, particularly in parenting, have a tendency to overthink, right? Because I was raised with a pull yourself up by the bootstraps attitude. But then I have this therapeutic side of me that says, we also want to emotionally nurture our children. And those two parts of my personality just are at odds all the time.
All the time.
So I constantly think, am I going too far to this direction or this direction? And then I just embrace it sometimes. And I say, I'm keeping therapists in business, right? Our profession is good. They'll go and they'll talk about how, I don't know, mom wouldn't let them fall asleep in bed with her every night, only on Tuesdays, right?
Only on Tuesdays or, Thursdays or whatever. Yeah. What's funny is one of the things that I have, because I've always kind of held on to this fear of, will my kids remember, like, the really great stuff that I've done? Will they remember the shitty things that I've done? What will they remember? And I always think about, I was on Reddit this one day, and people were talking about childhood memories. And this one person said they were about 9 years old and they were standing next to a couch doing nothing. There was nothing going on. And they just suddenly thought, I'm going to remember this moment for the rest of my life. And they were like 30 and they still remembered that moment, standing next to the couch, doing nothing. And I thought about that. And I said, you know what? You never really know what stupid shit kids are going to remember. You just never really know. And spending all of your time freaking out and trying to figure out, like, are they going to remember this time that I yelled at them for eating a Pop-Tart past dinner? You're going to drive yourself crazy. Absolutely. So yeah. So I've tried to hold on to that thought. But I still also have those moments of, like, am I doing this wrong? Am I am I keeping therapists in business? You know?
But I love warning the moms that come in and sit on my therapy couch. I always love telling them, like, there might be a time when your kid says, I got screwed up and it's my parents' fault. But everyone says that. And yes, it may be true, but we all do the best we can. And to the best of my knowledge, and this, like, again, my focus was child development, and that's because I was supposed to be a CPS social worker.
Oh, wow.
There's a very tiny, minuscule group of parents who want to fuck up their kids.
Absolutely.
And it's those that are the problem.
Right.
For the most part, all of us, we're just doing our best. And the other thing I chat with my folks about is the idea of remembering your value. So where imposter syndrome gets problematic is where you can't list 10 or 20 or 50 things, but above all else, you can't even see your value in a situation. So do I suck at budgeting for my business? Right now, right now I suck at it. I'm learning.
You're learning.
But I bring a lot to the table in terms of value for my business, for my businesses.
There would be no business without you.
Similarly, my value as a parent isn't that I get my kids to take their no thank you bites at dinner, which I fail at more often than my value is the snuggle time and the framework that I'm giving them how to view the world and teaching them about love and respect and all those things, right? That's the value I bring as a parent. It's not the nitty gritty things that we beat ourselves up over.
And over. Yeah. Your value is mommy. Mommy is your value right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are also preventative measures one can take. Who knew, right? Well, I mean, besides Kara, obviously.
I think some good ones are remembering that it's okay to fake it until you make it, because that's what a lot of us do. That's what so many entrepreneurs do. And as far as I know, every single parent does. Right?
Yeah.
And constantly asking yourself, I know that I have this self-doubt, this imposter syndrome, but am I letting it limit or my ability to go after new opportunities or take new risks or explore areas of interest, right?
Right.
Be so worried about being a good mom and showing up to the booster club that we're doing that instead of just like staying home and doing art with our kids, right? Like, what do you really want to do at the end of the day? In business, that looks like, am I afraid to make that cold call because I feel like they're going to find me out?
Right.
Parenting, it's just, am I so busy putting on this persona of what I think a parent's supposed to be that I'm actually impeding on my ability to be the mom that I know my kid wants and that I know that they would remember. Right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
If it is societal expectations.
Would you say it's like a chicken or the egg type situation almost? Like, do we form the societal expectations, or do the societal expectations kind of form what we expect of ourselves?
I think it's a chicken and the egg thing, right? Because I think the expectations that you and I have for ourselves, because we grew up in the Pinterest generation, they are there, but that's not to say that our parents didn't have similar things, right?
Right. Good housekeeping and
Pinterest wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
There are different expectations for different generations, and we're always watching each other, trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Social media and everything just makes it really easy. It makes it so much easier to compare ourselves now, because we get the highlight reel of everybody's lives on their Instagram stories and on their Facebook feed. And it makes us think, when was the last time I had that experience? But you don't see all the garbage that happened around it.
No, for sure. And, it's funny because I try not to vilify people who put positive things on their feeds. And if that's all they want to do, that's all they want to do. Because, I feel like in this day and age, we've kind of gotten so used to being able to see into people's lives in ways that we haven't before, that we haven't quite figured out that nobody owes us anything. But that's another rant for another day. My point being, that even with me knowing that, I have still had days. I remember my son was 4. He hadn't even started kindergarten yet. And I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, and there was a video of a woman I knew whose kid was older and in kindergarten, and they were reading together. And her son was starting to sound out words. And I'm watching this video and I'm thinking, man, am I doing it wrong? Should my son be reading by now? And my son was 4. Like, he hadn't even started kindergarten yet. But because I saw that video, and because I was kind of doing that thing where I was like, I got to check to see, I got to look on other people's paper to see if I'm getting the right answers. I was starting to be like, are my answers wrong? I started questioning myself. So it's really hard to escape that. It's like social media is kind of both a positive and a negative in that case. Because it's like, on one hand, we can reach out to each other to make sure that, we know we're not alone, but then we're also doing that comparison thing, and it's making that imposter syndrome even stronger, I feel.
Yeah. And that, I think even for people that don't identify as competitive, that kind of competitive nature, I don't want to say it's like the cause of imposter syndrome, but it definitely feeds into it.
Oh yeah.
And the other bit is feeling that sense of belonging, right? So as a mom, and this is why I love your podcast. I've always been searching for the sense of belonging with a mom group, right? Because I haven't ever felt like I fit in with like the Pinterest moms or the, I'm like failing to think of other groups now, but like I haven't felt like that fitting in feeling, because when I'm with those groups, I get that sense of, I don't belong. I'm an imposter. They're going to find me out.
100%. Yep.
Yes, I love going all out on my kids' birthday parties, but in these ways, I don't measure up as a Pinterest mom, and they're going to find me out. Right.
Right.
Because I am not your average mom.
Whoa.
That's the name of the podcast. But when you have that sense of belonging, that boosts your confidence. The more confidence you have, the less likely it is that you're going to have that sense of, I'm doing it wrong. They're going to find me out. I'm a fraud. Oh no. Right.
And then they're going to take away my business or my parenthood or yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where, like, in business, the area where I feel the least imposter syndrome is the network marketing, because I can talk to people till the cows come home. That's what I do for a living, right?
Right.
So I go out and I do that, and I feel good about myself. The weeks where I don't do a lot of networking, where I don't really put myself out there and connect with other business owners, then I'm just kind of in the business. I'm doing the budgeting that I'm bad at. And I'm questioning, am I supposed to be doing this? Right?
Maybe, yeah.
But am I a good business owner?
Exactly. No, I get it.
Another point of suggestion is find your sense of belonging, right?
Oh, yep.
Tackle the imposter syndrome, whatever that looks like for you.
That's a good idea. Especially like you said, like finding those groups that you fit in with. And sometimes one thing that I would add, and stop me if I'm wrong, is that you can fit in with multiple groups sometimes. Like, I think sometimes people feel a little bit too like, well, I can't fit in with the PTA moms because I don't wake up at 4 a.m. to bake a pie. And it's like, okay, but if you care enough to go to the school and still go to the PTA meetings and get stuff done, you can totally fit in with PTA moms and fit in with, I don't know, I'm not really coming up with any others either. Skater moms, is that a thing? Are there moms out there that skate? I don't know.
Absolutely. Because you can fit in with multiple groups, and it doesn't also have to be a perfect fit either.
Exactly.
Because yeah, I think trying to find another mom group of business owners, single parents, swear a lot, maybe martinis. That's a very specific niche.
You were asking for too many things. You gotta.
So giving myself some grace and giving the rest of the mom population some wiggle room of, yeah, maybe they don't do this, but we can still connect on a human level.
Exactly. Kind of going more according to the values you guys hold rather than always. I mean, some obviously what you do for fun matters to a degree, but like you don't have to like all of the same things as long as you kind of connect on those important levels.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And I really like that you brought it back to values, because that's the other piece of tackling imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
What are your values as a parent? What are you passing on to your kids?
100%. And as long as you're passing those on, then it sounds like you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your kid will go to therapy anyway, just embrace it.
Probably. But, doesn't necessarily have to be your fault. It's fine. And even if it is, also fine.
And finally, if you need that last push, that last reminder that you can totally do this, Kara left me with these words.
There's a suggestion that I love, which is there are people out there who are less qualified than you doing the thing you love, but they're doing it because they decided to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that translates across your life, business, motherhood, whatever. Focus on the thing you love and go for it, regardless of that nagging voice in your head or that feeling of imposter syndrome, because you'll feel better once you do it. That's probably the biggest thing.
The article that Kara wrote about imposter syndrome is linked in the show notes. And if you would like to keep up with her, you can do so through ancoratherapy.com or by looking up Ancora Counseling on Facebook and Instagram. Those links will also be in the show notes. The NIAM Project podcast is written and produced by me, Ariana Bradford. You can find out more about us at weareniam.com or by searching us on all social media under the NIAM Project. Thank you very much to Kara for stopping by today, and I'll see you next time.